Berachos Daf Nun Tes. We are gearing up for brand new Masechta Shabbos. Please join over the 2,000 subscribers that we have that watch the full 45-minute daf, whether it's on YouTube or they downloaded our app or they receive a WhatsApp. I guarantee you there's a lot more smiling, there's a lot more camaraderie than the 8-minute daf. The Gemara tells us that there are two constellations, Ash and Kima, and when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to make a Mabel in this world, he removed 2 stars from Kima. And in order to stop the Mabel, he replaced the 2 stars they took out of Kima with 2 stars from Ash. The question is, why didn't he just replace it with the 2 stars that he removed? Says the Gemara, there's a concept that you cannot fill up a pit. When you take dirt out of a pit, you try to refill it, it's not going to refill because there's always some dirt missing. Or, Enka Tegur Nasas Sanegar, a prosecutor, something that caused the Mabel, cannot stop the Mabel, cannot become a defender. We said in the Mishnah that when you see an earthquake, you have to make a bracha. Says the Gemara story, Rav Katina was walking by an oiv. Oiv is a person who converses with the dead through bones. And he said, I wonder if the oiv knows why we just had an earthquake. Says the oiv, of course I know. It's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu thinks about Klal Yisrael and Gullus, he sheds 2 tears. And those 2 tears create the earthquake. Says Rav Katina, that's not true, he's lying. Then there should be 2 earthquakes. Says the Gemara, the reason why Rav Katina said he's lying is because they didn't want people to follow this oiv. But in fact, Rav Katina knew he was right, and there are 2 earthquakes. Thunder is created, says the Gemara, and these could be Meshalem, either through clouds that bump into each other, or when clouds pour water one into another, or Rav Acha says it's when the lightning strikes the hail in the cloud, and that creates the sound of thunder, and then it rains. The Gemara says, we like this pshat the best. Another pshat, says the Gemara, is when the wind goes through a hollow cloud, similar to when wind goes above a barrel, it creates that sound. The Mishnah says if you see winds, very strong winds like tornadoes and hurricanes, you make a bracha. Says Abaya, we have a tradition that hurricanes do not start at night to give people a chance to escape. They could start in the day and go into the night, and they also don't last for 2 hours straight. There's always some sort of break in between them. It says in the Mishnah that when you see lightning, you say Rava says there are certain lightnings that are terrible and one should daven. That is, if it's a single lightning, if it's a white or yellow lightning, and if there's a cloud that comes from Ma'ariv and comes around through the north, or 2 clouds that seem like they're going to bump into each other, that's the time that you have to daven. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created thunder is to scare people and to take out their crookedness in their heart. When you see a rainbow, you should not bow to it because it looks as if you're bowing to the rainbow. Rather, you say, Baruch Zoicher Habris. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a bris with us that He's not going to give us another mabel. V'nemam b'brisoy v'kayim b'mamorot. Abaye says that when there are winds and lightning and thunder, mountains, rivers, all those, you make 2 brachas, and Rava says that when you see lightning and thunder, you can make either or. But when you see mountains, you can only say Oisa Maisa Berachos. You can't say because this particular mountain is not in the entire world, whereas lightning exists in the entire world. There's a concept called a clear sky. Says Abai that happens after it rains the entire night and then comes a northern wind. And according to Rabbi Shua ben Levi, you say Oisa Maisa Berachos. Rav Chizda says that once there's a Churban Beis HaMikdash, there's no such concept as a clear sky. The Gemara says, when you see the sun as it was created at Sheshis Yemei Berachos, in other words, the sun was created according to this Mandamar on Wednesday, Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. The only time that the sun will be back at that position is every 4 years, since the year is 365 days and a quarter, divided by 4 for the 4 seasons. Each season is 91 days and 7.5 hours. In order for the sun to be at its position at 6 p.m., that can happen only every 4 years. But to happen at 6 p.m. and on a Wednesday, or Tuesday night, early Wednesday, that only happens every 28 years. You have to wait for 28 years at the same time that Saturn, which was also created at 6 p.m. on Tuesday night, Wednesday evening, it has to be at that exact time that Saturn was created at 6 p.m. And that's when we said in the following morning, so that everybody gets together and says it, but that's Kufas Hashemesh, that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the sun. The same, the Gemara says you would say bracha, today we don't. On the stars, and on the moon, and on Mazalos, on the zodiac, you make the bracha, Oise Maise Berachos. Rabbi Yehuda says, on the great ocean, whether it's the Atlantic or the Mediterranean, you say a special bracha when you see it at least after 30 days. You have to wait at least 30 days. Then you say the bracha Sha'asa Es Hayam Hagadol. You also make a bracha on the 4 rivers mentioned in the Torah if there were no human intervention. Once humans diverted the river, you can no longer say a bracha on the river. If you see Paras by the Euphrates by the bridge, so you can say the bracha from the bridge and upriver but not downriver. At a certain time and place when they diverted the Euphrates, you can no longer say a bracha. The chidekel is a nutrikoin of chadin v'kalin. There are lighter waters, easier to drink and cleaner. Pras means parim v'ravim. And says Rabbah, the people of Mechayza, they are very sharp because they drink the water of the glass. The reason why their faces are red is because they're meshamish bayayim, and their eyes wander because they live in the darkness. If there's a lot of rain, you say Hatoiv HaMeitiv. And the rule is, any time that the rain or anything is good for multiple people, there's a partnership, even other farmers that own fields, you say Hatoiv HaMeitiv. If you do not own a field, then you say a very long bracha, says Rabbi Yehuda, Moedim anachnu lach al kol tipo v'tipo, we thank you for every drop and drop, shiratalanu, and then you say, Barchi nafshi, ilu pinu malashir kayom, shiner, en anonymous min lo'edis l'cha Hashem elikenu, all the way until Tishtachave, and then you say, Baruch Atah Hashem, Roi v'haidois, v'akel haidois. When you say Shechiyonu, only when something happens to you, and only to you alone. But if you have a son, you say Hatoiv HaMeitiv, because your wife is also happy. When there's an inheritance, and you have brothers, so you say first Dynamis, but afterwards you say Hatoiv HaMeitiv on the inheritance. And finally, when you drink an additional wine during the meal, you say Hatoiv HaMeitiv. If there are other people joining the meal, have a wonderful day.